Larry Elder appeared on The Breakfast Club and got grilled by what I'm going to prove to you discernibly is the world's dumbest woman. You'll see how many times she uses the word system. I want to apologize to everybody out there, not only for her behavior, but some of the ways that I reacted to her weren't Eckhart Tollish. Rather, I got slightly unnerved because I couldn't handle her stupidity and breaking Larry Elder's train of thought and continued interruptions and just general dumbness. And I got aggravated by it. So please don't think ill of me as I go through it and I'm kind of mocking her during this. But do leave your thoughts in the comment section if you want to take it out on me, if that's the case. And thumb up the video.
Fair, it's wrong, and you're discouraging Black people from working hard. 1990s.
Okay. Mr. Elder, quick question. Let's just remove the word racism, since that seems to be a word that triggers, a conversation down the water hole. Let's just focus on the word system.
Okay, I am not a fan of this woman. I saw her interview Vivek Ramaswamy in a very combative manner. I imagine that she's going to be doing the same thing to Larry, the way that she starts off. But let's see. Let me not prejudge. Let me not be prejudiced. But I do have a basis to judge her because I've seen her prior behavior.
Okay. You mentioned that the system was the one that discouraged. And again, we have no problem with agreeing that the family, the Black family, should certainly has some room for some improvement. But let's just focus on system.
Room for improvement?
System. Well, we're not going to go down that water. We're not going to go down that water hole. Let's get to the question. So the question is, you said that the system encouraged Black women to be single mothers, correct?
I said the welfare state, yes.
The welfare, the system. So who's in charge of the system? Who was in charge of the system?
Well, it was Democrats that passed it.
And who were Democrats? Were they Black or white at that time?
Well, at the time, majority of Black people were Democrats, as the majority of Black people are Democrats now.
Not the voters. I'm talking about the system. Remember, the main idea is the word system. Who was in charge of the system at the time? The Democrats at the time, the system. I'm just going to Charlemagne's point about white or Black. Was it white Democrats in charge of the system or Black Democrats in charge of the system?
Well, if you're prepared to say that Lyndon Johnson did this viciously with an intent to destroy the Black family, I disagree. He did it with the best of intentions. And if you look at the New York Times, which is left wing, the Washington Post, which is left wing, they cheered all of this.
Right. And what I'm asking was it white people. So I'm going to ask again in case my mic's not coming through clearly. Was it white people in charge of the system or Black people in charge of that system that helped break down the Black family? It's a simple yes, just a simple question. Why?
No, it's not really a simple question. All you're doing is framing it in such a way that you want him to answer white, so you can satiate the racial appetite for your Black listening base or yourself or your own predilections towards hatred of white, anti-whiteness.
White or Black?
Well, you didn't have to go on welfare unless you voluntarily chose to go on welfare. The inducement was put there by Democrats, by the left.
Correct? Okay.
Well, most black people were Democrats, and they voted for these white people.
Not voters. I said, who's in charge of the system?
Well, who puts them in charge?
Was Lyndon Johnson white or Black?
Who put them in charge? Fine, Lyndon Johnson was white.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. I made my point. Thank you. I made my point. You see, you don't have to say nothing, Larry Elder, because I made my point. I got you to say that Lyndon Johnson was white. Oh my God, what a point of admission.
Argument is that the reason he did it is because of racism. Then I disagree. He did it because of.
That's not my argument. I just asked you a simple question: was he white or Black, Charlemagne?
What difference does that make?
You said you talked about.
Well, I just told you if it's systemic racism, please explain to me how it was when America really had systemic racism in 1940. 87% of Blacks lived under the poverty line. Again, this is during Jim Crow era. My father is from Athens, Georgia, grew up in Jim Crow. My mom is from Huntsville, Alabama, grew up in Jim Crow. 87% of Blacks live below the poverty line. This is before Brown versus Board of Education. You did not find these kind of black on black crime.
Probably because we had no
choice. But they still were living below the poverty line, though, sir.
I'm sorry?
You're forgetting the fact that they were still living below the poverty line.
And that is exactly, she's trying to make this point, and she's probably going to completely negate it, is the fact that they were living below the poverty line. But you're just emphasizing Larry Elder's point that there wasn't as much crime. And why was that? Because there were two parents in the family because there was a father in the picture. So this dumbass is just going to continue to look stupid, is my prediction. Wait and see.
Picking and choosing, saying this was good, but this was bad.
Okay.
The bottom line, they end between the poverty line. But let's move forward on
Well, let me,
system.
can I just
Let's
add,
move
can I
forward.
just address that? In 1940, 87% of blacks lived under the poverty line. 1960, that number had fallen to 47%. That's a 40-point drop in 20 years. That's the greatest 20-year period of economic expansion for black people in the history of America. Again, well before Brown versus Board of Education, well before the KKK imploded, well before we had race-based preferences. Why? Because it was rare for a black kid to be raised in a family without a father in the home. A strong belief in Judeo-Christian values, a belief in patriotism, even as America wasn't applying these values to black people, obviously, and a belief in entrepreneurship. All those things are now under assault by organizations like Black Lives Matter. Charlemagne, Black Lives Matter had on their website an attack on the nuclear family. The founders are self-described Marxists, trained Marxists. Marx wanted to dethrone God, was an atheist, and Marx did not believe in capitalism, let alone entrepreneurship. All the things that made black people still survive in virulent racism are now under attack by organizations like Black Lives Matter.
All of those things
You do agree that there's racism. I'm just so confused.
You know,
Mr. Elder,
I never
because
even came
a
close to
moment
saying.
ago,
I never
a
came.
moment
I
ago
never
you
came
said
close. I never
racism.
came close to saying there was no racism.
You just said you don't think it's systemic racism.
Not anymore. Obviously, there was. We had something
Thank you.
called
But that was
slavery.
a
We had
system.
something
But
called
that was the
Jim
system that
Crow.
destroyed black. Hold on, sir. That was
I'm
the
sorry?
system that destroyed. That was the system that destroyed Black Wall Street. It's the same system right now that's not even wanting to pay those same living descendants. Because I know your position on reparations, but those same living descendants of Black Wall Street.
Okay.
And then you move, and then you go on to say that the system, the quote unquote system, is also trying to destroy President Trump. So I'm just so confused on: do you believe that the system can destroy or not? You pick and choose, sir.
If you want to know the signs that you're talking to a stupid person, they keep using the same word over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. System, the system, the system.
That's what's so confusing to me. You just said it wasn't racism. Now it is racism. When it was
I
time
said-
to
I
build
said-
it back,
I said it
there
wasn't-
was no racism.
I
I'm
said
so
it wasn't
confused.
systemic racism. Let's talk about.
So are you just hung up on the word system?
Can I just make this point,
Yeah,
Charlemagne,
I'm sorry,
please?
go ahead.
Let's take Chinese Americans. If you have poor credit score, you're not going to get a loan. Period. End of statement.
But-
Even
but
the
sir,
head
it's
of
more white
even the head of
people. But a
Urban
minute-
League, even the head of Urban League, a black man once said that if you have poor credit score, you're not going to get a loan. End of statement.
Sir,
Yes.
let's
But
just
sir,
when you were talking about crime, you weren't prepared to talk about disproportion. You talked about how it was more black people that was doing it, and then you talked about how we're the smaller, of the population. The same applies also to the loans. It's more white people than it is black people. You seem to pick and
I'm
choose.
talking about
when
the
you want
rate.
to do-
I'm talking about
right,
the rate.
whatever it is. The bottom line is, it's more white people than it is black people. And so, if more black people are not getting loans disproportionately, it seems you only want to apply the disproportion to the conversation when it benefits your talking point.
it's all about the credit score, is what he's stating. Whites get disproportionately turned down for loans versus Asians. This is an example of a stupid person. Look at that face. That is what you should associate with stupidity. Not because of her skin color, because of what she says.
I'm not sure you
Which
understood.
is why they say.
I'm not sure you
No, I
understood.
understood.
I'm not sure you understood my point. That's why I mentioned in 1995, when 186 black people who were not getting loans filed a class action lawsuit claiming that they were denied the loan because of racism. Citicorp said, okay, here are your loans. The reason I wasn't giving you the loans is because we're afraid you weren't going to be able to pay them back.
I'm not talking about
Fast
this,
forward,
sir.
they weren't able to pay them back, which proves the
Sir, I'm not
Citicorp
talking
point.
about that. I'm not talking
I
about
know
that.
you're
I'm
not,
talking about your
'cause
response.
inconvenient.
I'm talking about your response to Envy when you said more white people get approved for loans.
Since you
I'm
like
not talking
numbers,
about
I
Washington
said-
Post said black Americans have the highest denial rates for purchase and refinance of loans, according to Home Mortgage Disclosures Act.
Because of their
20%
credit
black,
score.
and all credit scores are the same. 15% of Hispanic loan applicants were denied, compared with about 11% of white and 10% of Asian applicants with same credit scores. And that's Washington Post, since you love numbers so much, and I know you do love numbers. That's coming
I'm
from the
not-
Washington Post. That's 2023, not 1995.
I can show you a study that
That's-
says the opposite.
Let me ask you a question,
Yeah.
Mr. Elder. Donald Trump, Rudy Giuliani, and I'm pretty sure everybody who just caught a RICO with him in Georgia, they all had fathers, and they still ended up in jail. How did that happen?
Mhm.
What?
Nobody
Well, let
said
me help-
nobody said if you have a father you won't go to jail. And nobody said if you didn't have a father you were going to jail. My father never.
But guess
knew-
what you did say,
Can-
Mr.
can-
Elder?
can-
I'm sorry,
may-
respectfully.
May I answer?
Guess-
May I
no,
answer
let
his
me just say
question?
this. Guess what you did say.
May I
I'm
answer his
gonna help you
question?
because I know-
Let him finish his statement, Ted.
Okay.
My father never knew his biological father. He got thrown out of the house when he was 13 years old, 8th grade dropout, Jim Crow South, Athens, Georgia.
Up in jail. Because they all had fathers.
because some people commit crimes.
No, sir. Stop.
No, sir.
My apologies for
People do
interrupting.
not end up in jail because they commit crimes. They end up in jail because of the white racism that keeps our people down.
You earlier, I just couldn't stomach the answer that I knew you were going to say.
Couldn't stomach the answer.
Yeah, I couldn't stomach because your actual answer to Trump being what was happening to him with the indictments, you actually said that the system was doing it. You said there was a two-tier system. This
That's
is
right.
your words.
That's right.
That it was a two-tier system. So when it came to Trump, all of a sudden
There she goes with her system word again. How many times more is she going to repeat it here? I bet you at least a couple.
I believe in this systematic thing that's happening to Trump. But then when it happens to black people,
but it's not about race. It's not about race.
I didn't ask you that. I asked you. Remember, I made it easy for you, and I took race out of it. Remember
when I made it easy for you and asked you what 2 + 2 was, and you still told me 5 because you infected by that woke ass mind virus?
I said I'm just talking about the system. I'm just talking about the system.
If you want to ask me whether I believe Donald Trump is being treated the same way as Joe Biden and is being treated the same way as Hillary Clinton, all of these people are white. All these people are white. There's a double standard.
Well,
Mr. Elder, you didn't hear my question.
You said that
you didn't hear my question.
You didn't hear my question.
People commit crimes, so you do believe that Trump, Giuliani, they committed a crime.
I don't know.
But you just said some people commit crimes.
I said some people committed crime. I didn't say Donald Trump committed a crime. I don't know anybody who's defending slavery. Anybody. Not Ron DeSantis. He's not defending.
People benefited from slavery.
Actually, you're talking about one line. You're talking about one line in about 127 pages of the study, and it is a line that was repeated almost verbatim in the associated in the advanced placement African American course that the DeSantis administration refused to use because of all the sexual stuff that was in it. It's basically the same thing that was in the advanced placement African American courses, and now because it's in that, all of a sudden the governor is accused of somehow defending slavery. He's not doing anything of the sort.
What did you think about that?
Well, sir, you were actually one that defended slavery. In your comments, you said that, like it or not, slavery was legal in response to reparations. So it's you that was defending slavery, correct?
Defending it and saying that it's illegal are two very different things. Slavery, unfortunately.
That was your response.
If you're going to get reparations from the 5% or so of white people that have some sort of generational connection to slavery, and that's all there is, then you need to go back to Africa and get money from African countries that were involved in the slave trade and in the Arab slave trade. And by the way, the Arab slave trade was even worse than the European slave trade. 90% rate of attrition, often making men and women walk on barefoot across the Sahara, and the men were castrated. Only about 5.
So if they go after the money from the other countries, then would you agree that it would be okay to go after the money from America? Is that your problem? When
are you going to stop with this? Everybody has a grievance.
I just asked a simple question.
I'm answering your question. There's no end. There'll be no end to this because slavery has been part of human history from the very.
This bitch will not let Larry Elder answer the question. She's constantly jumping in, trying to reframe the question in such a way that she gets the answer that she wants, and she's not smart enough to do it at the outset. Larry Elder is so calm, so cool, and so collected, much more than I am watching this at home as I sit in his chair.
Beginning.
Okay, now I've let you talk. Sir, I've let you talk.
No,
and every
you
time
haven't.
I talk, you begin to talk, and then you say, let you finish. So I asked you a very simple question. You said, if you're going to go after it in America, go after it in Africa. So if we all agree to go after it in Africa, will you then agree to go after it in America? It's just a simple question. Yes or no?
No, I won't, because it's a waste of time. We ought to be spending our time on education.
Next question.
Okay. You told me that I cut you off. Then I try to answer your question. You won't let me finish.
Go ahead, Larry.
Thank you. It's a waste of time. We ought to be talking about working hard, investing in ourselves. Right now, as we speak, there are Haitians in Haiti lining up for a lottery to come into this country. Why? Because it is the land of the free and the home of the brave. You can go from nothing to something faster in America than any other country in all of human history. We ought to be talking about that.
Mr. Elder, I know a lot of Black conservatives, and I completely agree about the Black family. I don't think anybody here objects to that.
Don't disagree about that at all.
I think when you talk about ideology and then you mix in parties and then personalities, it gets kind of confusing. And, you mentioned yourself not to moan and groan, that as long as you work hard, all is well. And I think where the conflict is coming in is you did moan and groan about how the Republicans treated you. You did moan and groan about Governor Newsom and, asking for a recall. You did not leave that up to the voters. You are moaning and groaning when it comes to Donald Trump Trump and how he's being treated. So it just seems to be a hypocrisy. And I don't know if the message would land a little bit better if there was some fairness across the board on Democrats and Republicans. I'm an independent, by the way, and I think both parties are trash. And I think all of us here, see both sides. And that's the part that's just not landing for me. There seems to be an unfairness on both sides with you.
Well, not too surprisingly, I don't agree with your analysis. How is it that I did not leave the recall to the voters? What do you mean by that?
What do you?
You said
say that
you said
again?
I didn't leave the recall to the voters.
No. I said you moaned and groaned about it. You said it should be recalled, correct?
Oh my!
Correct.
I said Gavin Newsom should have been recalled. Yes.
Right. That's moaning and groaning.
Well, actually, it's taking advantage of what's in the California Constitution, which is when a certain percentage of voters sign a petition to recall a politician, there can be a recall vote, and there was one, as there was in 2003. We recalled the governor then, and there was in 2021 when I attempted to recall Gavin Newsom. That's part of our democratic process in California.
Absolutely. We agree with that. I'm going to your statement when you said rather than moan about it. A little while ago, you said rather than moan about it, I'm just going to keep doing the hard work. And so I'm just saying that technically is moaning about it because the governor's the son. That's my point, sir.
I don't follow exactly what you're saying. I really don't.
It's okay. I didn't expect you to.
It's okay because nobody else follows what this woman is stating. The fact is that Larry Elder did not necessarily moan and groan. He went and tried to recall Gavin Newsom. Unfortunately, he failed, and that hypocrite French laundry dining while everybody else is trapped inside is still in office. But Larry was not moaning and groaning about it, so she's presenting a completely false frame to our audience.
Yeah,
but it's
I'm
one moment.
a little slow
one
sometimes.
Moment, one moment, yeah, we get it.
Yeah.
One
Yeah,
moment
we
you're
get it, we
complaining
get
about
it.
the system, and the next minute you're saying the system is fair. The next minute you're saying it's not fair. So
How many times has she said system during this episode of The Breakfast Club? How many times?
that's what I'm saying. There just seems to be a double standard on you and the system, not wanting to be accountable for a system that Black people are not in charge of, by the way, of not wanting to hold both sides accountable when it comes to the system.
Oh,
Do I
there's
believe
three.
Hillary was
There's
treated
three in that
differently
sentence.
and Joe Biden treated differently than Donald Trump is being treated? Yes, I do. Is that an indictment about whether or not America is systemically racist? No, it is not. Those are
They're two totally
different things. Yes,
You're
they
trying
are.
to merge the two, but they're two totally different things.
I agree with you. They're
But
two
it is
different
still the
things.
system.
No,
It is
no,
still-
we're
it is still
agreeing.
the
We're
system.
agreeing. They're two different things. We're agreeing.
No, they're two things not agreeing. Racism, because we're
Four,
not in charge of the
four.
system, sir. In case you
Okay, okay, all right, all right. Can we?
Black people have never been in charge of any system.
Well,
we're not
actually, we have been. Take Baltimore.
No, we've never been in charge
may
of
I
any
finish?
system. Tell me what financial system are Black people in
Okay,
charge of?
What
Let's take-
financial system? What, she's going to turn it to a financial system? Isn't she just asking what system? And then Larry's about to say Baltimore. And now she's saying what financial system we haven't been in charge of.
Are Black people in charge of? What government system are Black people in
I'm
charge of?
about ready to tell
what
you.
prison system are
I'm
Black people in charge?
about ready to tell you.
I'm not talking about mayors. I already know that talking point, sir. I go on Fox News all the time as well. So let's not go there with that. I said, what system have we created?
Goodness.
Have we implemented that we have been in charge of? Name one.
Is this why you
Night
don't like
one.
talking to Black women, Larry Elder?
Wow.
What, is that some sort of defense? You don't like talking to Black women, Larry Elder, or whatever he said? What he's recognizing that his colleague is completely unhinged with how many times she said the word system. And then he kind of parries the blow for her that is about to come. Larry is a saint.
Baltimore. Freddie Gray a few years ago.
No. That's mayors. I'm not talking. I said system.
I'm
Remember,
going to
you like
tell
the
you
word
about
system.
this system if you allow me to finish my point.
I'm not talking about somebody elected and doing a job, sir. I asked what system did we create? What financial
Okay, let's
system
talk
did we
about the
create?
system of one of the largest.
What she's changing again, the goalpost that she's trying to get Larry to jump through. So he's about to tell her about the system of Baltimore that is fully contained and run by Black people. And now she's again changing the goalpost. This is a common diversionary tactic in a debate, but it doesn't work if you can catch it. And you guys are smart enough to catch it, right?
Let him say his point.
Thank you.
Sir.
One of the systems of one of the largest cities in America, Baltimore. Freddie Gray died in police custody a few years ago. The mayor was Black. The head of the police department was Black. Number two,
It's not in charge of the system.
The
But go
system.
ahead.
number two person.
What are you talking about? It is a fully contained Black system. That's what it is. But that's not the system. Yes, because you have a hermetically sealed almost system of governance in Baltimore that was fully Black. So if you want to talk about a system that y'all in charge of, it is Baltimore.
Person in charge of the police department was Black. All
Still not in charge of the
all the
system.
city council, Democrats, majority Black.
Still not in charge of the system.
Wow.
The system. Still not in charge of the system. as I said, the way that you can obviously tell who the stupid person is in a conversation is the one that says the same word over and over and over again and thinks that it makes them smart.
That's a position.
6 officers charged, 3 of them were black. A judge before whom 2 of the officers tried their case found him not guilty was black.
Still not in charge of the system.
The city.
What the hell? What the hell does this woman want? How many times is she going to say system, system, system?
Intendant of public schools was black. The county superintendent of public schools is black. The attorney general at the time, Loretta Lynch, is black, as was the president of the United States was black. And yet,
Still not in charge of the system.
So who's in charge of the system?
What system are you talking about? As I said, you have a hermetically sealed black system in Baltimore, but it's still not going to satiate her desire for a system. Do you want to move the proceedings to Ghana and talk about a 100% black country that I have visited? And by the way, I found the people to be very nice there in general. Do you want everybody to move over to Ghana and then to talk about the black system? Sister?
Okay.
Well, Wanda Sykes said when Barack Obama got elected, how are you going to complain about the man when you are the man? Now, from the president to the attorney general to the state attorney to the mayor to the head of the police department to the commissions of the schools in the city and in the county to the majority of city council in that city, all of them are black. And you're still saying that we don't run anything?
So who's in charge of the
No,
system?
no, no. I said who created the system. I didn't say we didn't run anything.
Oh, now you
I
want
challenged
to?
a lot of those black leaders.
So now you want to run it to change it to who created the system? So the Greeks created democracy, and so thus, according to her logic, the Greeks are still in charge of all democracies on the planet. By the way, since then, the Greeks have been seriously resting on their laurels. But regardless, she wants to change the goalpost again. No, you never asked about who created the system. You asked who's in charge of the system. Now he's showing you once again who's in charge of the system, and you're trying to change it. The stupidest person ever.
By the way, I said who, when we talk about the system, what black people have been in charge of any system. I'm not talking about a position. I'm not talking about a mayor. You know good and well what I'm talking about,
you're basically saying that they're black.
Okay, sorry to interrupt again, but you have Barack Obama in charge of 1/3 of the federal government, the entire system of the executive branch run by Barack Obama with Eric Holder, the black attorney general, and Joe Biden. If you ain't black, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. So I guess Joe Biden is an honorary black person, according to that logic. Goodness.
Faces that are still in those positions, but they're still being
correct.
part
Similar
of the
to you, Mr.
So-
Elder.
so-
You're
so-
a black face in a position in the conservative movement. They're just the same. They're just on the other side. I'm talking about
So then,
we have
so then,
never
so
been in
then,
charge
so then,
of
when
the
Martin Luther
system.
King said in 1966, "I believe there could be a black president in about 40 years' time," then it really doesn't matter whether there's one or isn't.
No,
It's one because nothing changes. He was
Well, the
naive. He
system
was
also
naive then.
killed him as well. Well, we know that the FBI and the CIA also killed him. That system. You realize that, correct?
Wow.
Realize it create.
An individual killed him.
Right. That was also a part of Pro Hotel through the system.
COINTELPRO.
Correct.
Not correct.
COINTELPRO.
Not correct. He was
So
killed.
the FBI didn't have anything to do with it. The CIA didn't have anything to do with
J.
it.
Edgar Hoover was definitely on Martin's ass. Like, come on.
I didn't say he wasn't.
Oh.
Robert Kennedy is the one that approved the wiretaps. But to say that the FBI killed him, I mean, what's your evidence of that?
No,
That's a pretty serious charge.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Pretty serious charge.
Yeah.
Serious charge
Yeah, I
requires
was talking
serious
about the
evidence.
Yeah.
What is your
Mr.
enforcement
Elder,
law?
She was about to say, I'm talking about the system. It's like Allen Iverson saying, we're talking about practice.
We talking about practice.
We talking about the system that somehow lets the dumbest person in the world make what I'm guessing is at least decent living.